Our speaker for this evening is a personal development and training workshop facilitator for over 20 years. He has given a series of talks in various countries worldwide on topics such as stress-free living, secrets of self-esteem, self-discovery, and principles of inner leadership, to name a few. Born in Malawi, Africa, and grew up in London and Oxford, he had his extensive training from the Academy for a Better World in Mount Abu, India, and the Global Retreat Center in Oxford, London, both run by the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University. Tonight, he will help us rediscover our true self, our super self, and let us say the word, and help us say the words, yes, I can. And to provide us insights, knowledge, and experience to the topic I can, I have the honor to present our esteemed guest speaker, Brother Yogesh Sharda.
So, hello and good evening, everyone. Thanks for the warm introduction. I hope to live up to those expectations. It's very nice for me to be here. It's my first time to the Philippines, and I have 2 or 3 days more until I return. I've had the chance to be in the south, and now I'm here in Manila. So just by way of introduction a bit more and some more background, I've been in the study and practice of self-awareness and meditation since I was a child. And when I was around 8 or 9 years old, then my parents started attending one of the Brahma Kumaris meditation centers in the east of London. And so since then I've kind of grown up with this awareness of the importance of paying attention to the inner world. And one of the things I have discovered is that each person has 2 lives. We have our outer life of our academic life, our career and travel and family and so on. But then also there is an inner life. That's the life of our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, our perceptions. And most people give more attention to the outer life and less to the inner life. And as a result of that, we have this imbalance in the world where we can do tremendous things with technology. We can send probes to Mars. We have great advances in healthcare. We can communicate with somebody the other side of the world. But we also have lots of stress. We find people need a huge amount of medication to feel good. A pill to go to sleep. A pill to be happy. A pill to feel alive. And of course this is no way to live. And one of the reasons for this is that we have forgotten how to respect and take care of the mind, the inner self. And so what I'll be exploring with you in the next little while is how to understand that inner self. Who really is this me that we talk about? The courage to be me. Well, what does me mean? And that's something we have to explore. I'm also aware there was an article out, I think yesterday or the day before, about spiritual intelligence. Did anybody see that article? Okay, a few of you. So let me also touch a bit on intelligence and the need to be intelligent in order really to discover our inner treasures and to have the courage to overcome these energies like fear and doubt and so on. Is the sound okay? Yeah, all right. Okay, let's just start by looking at some context and understanding the importance of intelligence with regard to these 4 types of intelligence. So the one, of course, that we are most used to hearing about is, as you would know, IQ, which is rational intelligence, logic, reason, analysis, and so on. And for many years, this was really the only intelligence that people talked about. If somebody scored high on an IQ test, we would say she or he is very intelligent. But this is really no longer enough for successful and meaningful living today. Something more is required. Then the next one up is known as this. I see. And this stands for a person's intuitive capacity. And that is your ability to tap into and listen to your own inner wisdom. Now, each person, each human being, each soul has an inner wisdom. Yeah, still okay? And that inner wisdom is trying to guide us in our daily decision making. I don't mean just the big decisions of life, but in the heat of the moment, when you have to make a decision of how to deal with a certain personality, how to handle aggression, what to say to someone, when to say, how much to say, if to say, in the heat of the moment when you need to know what to do, if your inner wisdom is working, and if you're listening to your inner wisdom, you're able to use that to guide you in your decision making. But for most people, we don't listen to that inner wisdom because the mind is too noisy. Chattering, chattering, chattering all the time. And therefore it's like trying to listen to a voice in the storm. We can't hear it. Now most people are physically in one place, but mentally somewhere else. Are you here? Are you sure? Yeah. All right. Let's do a little exercise here, which is very useful in making the mind quiet and to listen to that inner wisdom. Something I like to do quite a lot is called creative visualization. And when we do this, we also discover the power that we have within our own mind. So it takes about 3 or 4 minutes. And I'll ask you if you can just to sit with your back straight and just have your feet flat on the floor. And as is already mentioned, if you do have your electronic baby, please do make sure it's sleeping. All right, so lift your hands free. If you're holding something, just put it down to the side. It's important to be both alert and comfortable. So you can just rest your hands gently on your legs and have your head at a natural angle. So for this particular exercise, you can close your eyes if you wish. And I'll just lead you through a very simple visualization. So when we do creative visualization, we are using the power of images, because the mind thinks in pictures. And so just withdraw your attention from the outside and bring it towards yourself. And in this simple exercise, we just want to relax the body and relax the mind. And so bring your attention up towards your face. And bring your attention to the center of your forehead. And here at the center of your forehead, picture a small room. This tiny room in the center of your forehead is your quiet room of peace. Just to visualize this beautiful, quiet room of peace in the center of your forehead. And this is your private and personal space. When you are inside your quiet room, you feel very relaxed. This is the place where you can be yourself. Inside your quiet room, you feel safe, secure. You are free from the pressures and the demands of daily life. Inside your quiet room, you can drop the masks that you wear every day. Feel the peace, the beautiful stillness of your quiet room. And just allow your mind to absorb this atmosphere of tranquility, serenity. And as you do so, the thoughts begin to slow down. The mind becomes quiet, calm, peaceful, relaxed, and free. Just be with this feeling of peace in your mind for 1 minute. And now, gently, I return to the awareness of this room here. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. So, how do you feel? Anyone feel a bit more relaxed? Yeah? Okay, so that's it then. That's the end of our program. Thanks for coming. Good night. If this works for you, then try to do it at least once a day or twice a day. One of the reasons why we have these fears, doubts, worries and so on is because we waste the energy of our mind in thinking too much. And when you think too much and you waste mental energy, the mind gets tired. And when the mind is tired, the patience level goes down, tolerance level goes down. Then a small problem is experienced as a huge problem. But if you're able to conserve your thought energy, which is the power of your mind, you are better able to face adversity. Simply put, life is the ultimate mind game. It has been said beautifully by Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, the quality of your life depends upon the quality of your mind. The sayings, the texts of India tell us, Man jeet, jagat jeet. Did you get that? Which means if you conquer your mind, you conquer the world. And the mind is the thing which we have to learn to respect. And in most big cities, lifestyle disrespects the mind. Now think, for example, of any machine you buy, whether it's a phone or a laptop, a car. With that machine, you also receive a user manual. And this tells you how to look after the machine and how to use it properly. So the question arises, where is the user manual for the mind? What kind of thoughts are good to have, are healthy to have in the morning? What kind of thoughts should come a bit later? The whole science of taking care of the mind has been lost in our 24-hour lifestyle, where due to technology, due to the advancement of science, people sort of live around the clock. Science is good, technology is good, but even more important is the technology of using the mind. So we'll explore a little bit more. And one of the things that I think is very true, and I'm hoping you'll agree with me by the end of our session, is that we have more to unlearn than we have to learn. I think we have to unlearn what we have mislearned so we can relearn what we should have learned. Right? Now, let's just finish off this series of intelligences. The next one up is known as EQ, and as you would know, again very popular, emotional intelligence. And that's to do with how well you can understand and manage your own emotions, and from that, how well you can understand how other people are feeling. And if you're working in a team, especially if you're leading a team, then it's an essential skill to know how other people are feeling. But if you can manage your own emotions, for example, your moods, or your anger, or your fears, only then are you able to really understand another person. If not, then you project your emotions onto somebody else and misunderstand them. And again, for this, meditation, reflection, creative visualization is very useful to be able to bring my mind back to peace, back to calmness, so I'm able to see and think clearly. Then there's the highest one, which is sometimes considered to be a combination of the others, and that is spiritual intelligence. And that's connected with two main things. One is to do with your sense of identity. And this raises the question, how do you see yourself? How are you answering this question for yourself? Who am I? What is the answer that you're carrying in your consciousness the whole day long? And why this is important is because, as has been said, you don't see the world as it is. You see the world according to who you are, who you think you are. The most important thing to explore in human life is identity. That forms the basis of your emotional condition, and then your behaviors, and then also the way you deal with life, the world outside. So let's ask here, who here is a student? Any students here? All right, there's a few students there. Who here is an educator? Anybody work in education? Not too many. Who here is in healthcare? A few healthcare workers. Who here is a parent? All right. Who here has a sister? More hands. Who here is Filipino? Still not everyone. Who here is a human being? If you don't raise your hand, I'm worried. Okay? So we're saying our base identity is we are human beings. On top of this, we have our acquired identities. I come from this country. I am of this profession. I am of this race. I am from XYZ. And the problem today is we have become entangled in the acquired identities and we've forgotten the base identity. This is the mother of all problems in the world, a loss of identity. And we'll see how this is also the beginning of the solution to anything in our lives, is exploring who I am, my true sense of identity. That's where power comes from. And when you have power, you deal with fear, you deal with doubts, you deal with worries. And we're going to explore that in a moment. So let's look a bit more at the importance of unlearning in order to have the courage to bring out our best self. So let me put this up here. Can you all see that? So question, what do you see? Somebody said circles. Spiral. What else? What do you see? Sometimes people say, I see a thumbprint. Some people say, I see the universe. Some people say I see a snail shell. Some people say, I see a lollipop, or, a sweet. So different kinds of things, and you've probably said other things which maybe I couldn't hear. But, there is a but. Everything you said was all about this. Nobody mentioned there is also this wide, clean, available, empty, open space as well. I didn't ask, what did I draw? I asked, what do you see? So your eyes immediately went to this. And whatever you see is what you will think about. Whatever you think about will influence how you behave. And however you behave will create your life. This is so important. Now here, it's just a question of the physical eyes, but the point I'm making is the eye of your mind. As you go through daily life, many things come in front of you. Sometimes you'll be successful. Sometimes you will fail. Sometimes you'll be the center of attention. Other times people will ignore you. Sometimes you receive lots of praise. Other times people will criticize you. Sometimes you receive a bouquet of flowers. Other times people will throw darts at you. Sometimes the same person who gives flowers will also throw darts at you. But all of this is happening outside of you, and you may not be able to control the things which come in front of you. But what is absolutely in your control is how you choose to see that. This is called the power of vision. And hence the saying, as is your vision, so is your world. Whatever you think you're capable of or not capable of is very much connected with your vision. And so when we say, yes, I can, or the courage to be me, a big part of that is learning that the ability to see, the choice of what I see and how I see is in my hands and is my responsibility. Now, the challenge is, of course, the things that we we have already working with in our lives. So, a question for you here. The things that you have learned in your life so far, how have you learned them? Now, some may say, well, by listening to other people, or by making mistakes, or perhaps by trial and error. But let's do a little exercise in human learning styles. So this would require you to stand up for just a moment. Would that be okay? There's only one rule in this exercise, and that rule is you must do as I say. Do you agree? Do you trust me? Fools. Okay, no, it's quite alright. It's not dangerous and it's not embarrassing. But just put your right arm out. Some of you might need a little bit to move along. Try not to hit someone. Alright, and now just bring your hand in towards your body. Right. Keep your hand flat to the floor. And move your hand out again. Alright, now just bring your finger and your thumb together. And bring this in towards your body, not too fast, not too slow. Keep the focus, keep the attention. And move your hand out again and just extend your arm as far as it can go. One last time, bring your hand in towards your body. Just bring it up to your face. Gently, very gently, just touch your chin and freeze. Hold it right there, just keep it there. Do not move. Alright, now, what did I say? Touch your chin. And what are you doing? Some of you got it right. The chin is down here, folks. This is called a cheek. Why are you doing this? Me. Blame Yogesh, as usual. It's always my fault, isn't it? Alright, thank you. Sit down. So, what does this tell us? This tells us people are not as smart as they look. Or it tells us also we follow more what we see rather than what we hear. Most of what you have learned in your life, you have learned by observing other people. Especially in terms of your emotional behaviors. And who have been your main teachers in this regard? It's your parents, right? Or maybe a certain older brother, a sister, particular friend. Because when we are children, we observe, we absorb, and we copy, we mimic. And by the time we have become adults, some of those behaviors have become deep-rooted patterns. Now, of course, we learn many good things. But as well as that, we learn some self-limiting habits. And unless we address those habits, our whole life is driven by the habits we have created at a young age. And that's where self-awareness or meditation is very useful, because it helps you to observe yourself from a detached observer perspective. And this is where I'm saying the importance of unlearning, to grow out of those limits and discover the best, perfect, excellent self. Alright, now we come to the next little exercise. Now again, I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes. So can you just close your eyes? And for 1 minute, I'm going to ask you to think of yourself doing something great and important. Can be anything, absolutely anything. Think of yourself doing something great and important. eyes, and now I'm going to ask you to open your eyes and just tell a person next to you, what were you doing? What great important thing were you doing? Just share with someone sitting next to you. Okay, everyone done? All right, now comes part 2 of this exercise. Again, just close your eyes. And this time, for 1 minute, think of yourself doing something great and important, but 10 times bigger than what you just thought of. 10 times more great, 10 times more important than what you thought of the first time. Just imagine that for 1 minute, just with your eyes closed. Okay, once again, just open your eyes and again, share with the same person. What were you doing this time? Everybody shared? So, I won't ask what you're doing. Take all night, although I'd like to know. But the question is, what do you thought the first time? Why did you think of that the first time? Right? So when you imagine yourself to do something, break the limits. Yes, I can means what? Do not limit yourself. Because limits come from our past experiences, past thinking. Usually when we try to do something, we create a mental limit first, and then we do it, and our mental limit limits what we are able to achieve. But if we challenge that mental limit and ask, what is possible for me? Creating a vision of what's possible for me, opening up your mind, and then that actually invites your potential to emerge. This nagging voice of self-doubt is what stops the person from discovering their true potential. And it's this that we need to work on and challenge in order to be who you were born to be. And when it comes to dealing with challenges, problems, well, living in especially city life, we all have things to deal with. But here is a very useful little analogy which I always used to find useful when I first heard this as a kid. Einstein's theory of relativity. You may have heard of it. Well, there's a simpler theory, the spiritual theory of relativity, and it's a bit like this. Let's say this here represents you. Can you see that? Alright, very simple diagram. And this here represents some problem. It could be a person, could be a situation, any problem. So the question is, who's bigger? Right, so no prizes for guessing that. Problem is bigger than you. And this might make you worried, might make you anxious, might cause you to experience some stress in your life. Let's take a second scenario. Let's say here is the problem. Here is you. So now, who's bigger now? You. What has changed? Has the problem changed? No, the problem is the same size. The problem is as it was before. Now this may seem absurdly simple, but it's so important. Because when we deal with any problem in life, the mistake we make is we fight the problem. We engage ourselves with the problem. We try to solve the problem. Wrong move. Before solving the problem, first I should solve myself. Start with the self. And hence it's a beautiful phrase, the way to deal with any adverse situation is first to stabilize your mind in your peace and your self-respect. Do that first. Take some time to make yourself stronger, make yourself bigger. Then, when you see the problem, it's still there, but it doesn't frighten you. It doesn't cause you to lose your peace. And because the mind does not become emotional, therefore your intellect, your thinking is clear and you're able to see solutions. And I think this is something to really apply in life as a tool. First be, and then do. Do not get pulled into engaging with life, with issues, with people, before you engage with the peace which is inside you. And if you use this as a kind of mantra for life, as a life skill, notice how you pass through situations, dealing with situations, but not losing your peace, not losing your happiness. As has been said, darkness has no source. Light has a source. Do not curse the darkness, but switch on the light. So when we have fears in our life, when we have doubts, when we have worries, anxiety, nervousness, tension, it's not something to fight with. But what to do is to walk towards light. And light in this context means self-respect. Light means honor the peace which is at the very center of your consciousness. Be there, experience that, live with that, and see how the forces of darkness subside in your life. Is that making sense to you? My hope is, by the time you leave, you have some tools in your pocket which you can take and really use in your practical life. Okay, let's come to one or two more things. And the next is a very useful model to help us to understand how to deal with these difficult emotions and where do these emotions come from in the first place. So this tells us that we are all surrounded by events. Events are all the things that are around us. Events is the weather, it's a sunny day, it's a rainy day. Event is success, failure, praise, criticism. Sometimes you're surrounded by people who are similar to you, sometimes you may be with people who are different to you. Events are happening all around us. There's not much you can do about the events around you. But here is what we do. We give meaning to those events. The event is outside of me, but with my mind I'm giving meaning to the event. Hence, human beings have been called as meaning-making machines. And why this is important? Because the meaning that you give to the events is determining or generating your emotional state. So whether you feel anxious, worried, peaceful, relaxed, tense, happy, all of that is connected to the meaning that you are giving to the events. This is the sequence. First, something happens. Then your mind gives meaning to it. Then is the way you feel about it. Agreed? Yeah. Yes, but there is another but, that we actually don't live like this. Although it seems to make sense, but in practical life, we actually live under an illusion. And that illusion is we think the event directly creates my emotions. Hence, we say things like, I feel very angry because of, for example, the way somebody spoke to me today. I am very worried because of such and such a situation. I am very upset because of X, Y, Z. In fact, this is not true. You are angry not because of what somebody said, you're angry because of the meaning you are giving to what he said. You're worried, stressed, tense, not because of situations, but because of the meaning your mind is giving to situations. It's the meaning that is creating the emotions. And one reason why we don't see this is because this happens very fast, very quickly. As soon as an event happens, instantaneously, in a nanosecond, your mind gives meaning to it. And just as quickly, the emotion is generated. Such that what we think has happened is the event has created my emotions. But in fact, it's the meaning that I'm giving that has created that emotion. Now, this is both bad news and good news for us. The bad news is there is no one else to blame for your negative emotions. So, sorry about that. But the good news is exactly the same. And that is that the way you feel is entirely in your hands if you choose to own the meaning and to upgrade the meaning. And that's one of the messages really from today, is if we wish to have the courage to bring out the best me, if I want to overcome these emotions of fear, doubt, worry and so on, let me stop being consumed by the event. Let me pay more attention to giving higher meaning to the events. The question arises, of course, what is meaning made up of? What are the components of meaning? What is behind meaning? What is the meaning of meaning? And so we come to the next model to help us to understand how we can raise the meaning that we are giving to things, such that the way we feel is in our hands rather than being at the mercy of situations and events. But before that, a quick check. How are you doing? Is all this making sense to you? Is it useful for you? Anybody sleeping? I'm just checking at the back. Usually the sleepers are at the back, but not today. All right. Okay, so let's come to the one of the components of meaning. There are actually three things that comprise meaning. We're just going to look at one, just for time's sake, and that is to do with something called your perspective. If you raise your perspective, you change the way you see something, you change your relationship with that thing. So let's say here your perspective is high, or is open, and here your perspective is low. This represents the eye of your mind, the way that you are seeing something. So let's say that you have some issue in your life. Some situation which is maybe bigger than you faced before, or something maybe not so pleasant. But you label that in your mind as a problem. So if you think of that as a problem, how might you feel? If you live with a problem in your mind, you may feel heavy, worried, stressed. It may affect your sleep, your digestion, because you are problem conscious. And you may be fighting the problem in your mind. But if you say to yourself, this is something I have to deal with, but I choose not to see it as a problem. I choose to see this as an obstacle. The situation is the same, but my perspective of it is different. And what's the difference between a problem and an obstacle? A problem, this is in my way. Who put this here? This shouldn't be here. I give up. I can't go further. Obstacle, I ask myself, how can I get over this? How can I find a way around this? How can I find a way through this? When you see something as a problem, you focus on the thing. When you see it as an obstacle, you focus on yourself. How can I get over this? Now, problems come in all wonderful shapes and sizes. Sometimes in the form of difficult situations, sometimes in the form of difficult people. Now, do you have at least one difficult person in your life? Yes? Is that person here in this room? Is that person sitting near you? Okay, don't answer that question. But the thing to do is, with any situation, in order to overcome the obstacle, what you require is the most elevated of all studies, the greatest research, which is the study and the research of virtue. That's what we need to get over the problem, over the obstacle. Which means sometimes you need patience, sometimes tolerance, sometimes forgiveness, sometimes self-respect, sometimes positivity. The more virtue you imbibe in yourself, the more easily you're able to overcome the obstacle, especially with people. Life is a school, but only if I have this attitude of being a student. And so just finish this off. Next stage, as your perspective continues to rise, now the same thing you see as an opportunity. An opportunity to express what you are learning. Next stage, same thing you see as a test. A test allows you to know what I know and what I need to pay attention to. And then the final stage, as you see that same thing as a gift. Something which before made you worried, made you upset, made you fearful, anxious, tense, now you see as a gift. A gift means you got something from it, you learned an important lesson. And some gifts come beautifully wrapped. Nice gold paper, red ribbon, but inside, not so useful. Other gifts come badly wrapped, tatty, unattractive, but hold on. Open the gift, and inside may be a real diamond for you. So this teaches us lessons for life. Do not be influenced by the apparent appearance of a situation, but keep your faith, keep your self-respect, keep applying virtue in your life. The guarantee is there will be a gift at the end if you're authentically applying virtue in your life and your relationships. Okay, so I think I've come to the end of my time. I've actually gone a little bit over my time. Sorry to the organizers. So let me await further instructions.